I've got 3 more midge larva patterns to show you. We're going to look at how to tie midge larva imitations that have a transparent or translucent outside with a solid core in them. Kind of like this bloodworm picture that you can see. We're going to use plastic tubing to mimic this exterior. So hang in there till the end of the video. We're going to tie a midge larva here today. This is the second stage of the development of a midge, midge egg, larva, pupa, adult. I've been tying some adults. And so I'm going to tie this with some micro tubing from Hairline. Hairline makes the tubing in micro, midge, and standard. And these are tiny, maybe a ½ inch or slightly less long. So I'm starting out with a shrimp hook or pupa hook. And you can use dubbing, put a head on these. You can use peacock curl. You can do just a black thread head. I'm going to use a 2mm bead. If I had a 1.5 millimeter bead, I would probably use that. So I've got the thread started, and I'm just going to take a wrap to get it started right over the tubing at the beginning, and then I want to stretch it a little bit, and I want to try to pull it back along the top of the hook shank until I get to the back, and then I'm going to come forward and kind of make sure I've got it covered well with the thread. Then once I get to that point, Gary Borger talks about this tie-off technique where you come to the side with the material and catch it with the thread as you come around, and it allows you to maintain tension on the thread. So now I'm going to clip that off. I'm going to use dubbing here, and I just picked this up off my time bench. It may be fox squirrel, but I think it's actually some dubbing that I pulled out of a muskrat cape. So I just want a tiny bit of it, and just enough to really coat the thread and give me a little something behind the bead to kind of seat that bead and give me a little bit of bugginess to it. I'm going to trim off any guard hairs I get in there, and you can trim it up like you want to. And take a whip finisher. I'm going to do 2 3-turn whip finishes. And I will mention this is a size 16 hook, 2mm tungsten bead, and size 16/0 Vivus thread. There's an olive midge larva. I want to tie another variation of the fly that I just tied with the micro tubing. This is tubing, so it's hollow. And one of the things, and I don't remember where I got this, that you can do is you can take a wire and thread it through the tubing, and you can see if I get this just right, I've got all but about the last little inch of that in there. And I was just going to show you, it's pretty obvious how you get this started. You put the wire in the end of the tube and you pick a wire that's small enough to go in. But one of the things that's not real obvious, when you get it in, it'll stick a little bit, and you can get more to go in. When you get it in so far, it'll get harder to push in. One of the things you can do to get it to go the rest of the way is actually twist it around the wire. And it actually makes it, you can see I've got about that much left, it actually makes it fairly easy to get the wire to go in the tube. Even though this is micro tube and it's tiny, you can see now I've got it coming out the other end. So you thread wire of any color through any color tube. So for example, I'm using an olive colored tube and I'm using a copper wire. I could thread a red wire through a clear tube or a black wire through a red tube. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to clip off the end of the wire since I cut my wire a little long, and that'll leave me with wire threaded through some tubing. Now we're going to tie this pretty much like we tied the brassy, because this tubing is not going to flatten out like it did before. So I want to try to put it right on top of the hook. And then wrap it back, holding it on top of the hook, pulling it back on top of the hook if need be, and then we'll wrap forward again. And you can see here by threading the wire inside, I get the olive cast and kind of a translucent effect with the wire showing through. This looks really nice with red wire in a clear tube or black wire in a red tube. But you can see the effect that you get is really nice there. And then when you get to the front, take some wraps over and in front of. And then for the head on this, I'm going to grab a little black capock. And there you go, another larva, midge larva pattern.